Welcome back to the Common Historian, where history meets the supernatural and the stories of our past come alive in the most unexpected ways. I'm your host, Jeremy, and today we're exploring the world of dark history and historical travel with Nick from the YouTube channel Travels with Nick. His channel specializes in historical locations, dark history, and famous graves, covering everything from Bonnie and Clyde to pop culture connections and true crime stories with compelling then and now comparisons. Today, we will dive into his journey as a content creator, explore his experiences in Salem, Massachusetts, discuss his acclaimed Bonnie and Clyde series, and hear stories from his travels to some of America's most notorious historical sites. So settle in as we uncover the darker side of American history. Nick, welcome to the Common Historian.
Thanks.
Can you tell us how you first got into content creating about historical and kind of dark tourism locations?
Yes, sir. And I just want to say on camera, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. Happy to spend the time with you this afternoon. Jumping right into it, how I got started kind of down that road. Honest to God, it sounds cliche, but it's from both my parents, my mom and my dad. And I say that because my dad has a very historical based mind. I remember growing up and he just always had the History Channel on the TV. Growing up, I thought it was so boring. I didn't care about history in school, and I wish I did now. He would always say, I have a lot of useless knowledge in my brain that I can't actually use for anything. I think I kind of have that gift, but I can use it towards my YouTube channel now. He's the very historical side. When it comes to the dark stuff, I get that 100% from my mother because she has always loved the Halloween season. She would always call it Scary Movie Month. She loves the paranormal, ghost stuff, haunted houses, true crime, even down to the famous graves part. So I'm just a product of the both of them. And that's really how I got down this path.
Oh, that's great. So, what kind of sparked your interest in combining that travel with the darker, more mysterious aspects of American history?
My family and we were never big travelers. I live in Dallas, Texas now, but I'm originally from the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania. We didn't travel much. We may have gone every other year to the Jersey Shore, typical beach vacation, but that was about it. My wife, on the other hand, she grew up traveling a lot. And it wasn't until 2019 we got married. We went on our honeymoon. We did a European 2-week trip to London, Paris, Ireland. And it wasn't until then that I would say I got the travel bug, right? Then in 2020, everyone remembers, COVID happened, the world shut down. For whatever reason, 2020, we decided we're going to move to Texas. My in-laws have been down here a few years. We liked it each more time, and we were both working from home anyway. So we moved. Where this goes into the dark stuff is I knew in Dallas, once again, my parents had always liked the tale of Bonnie and Clyde, and I knew they were in Dallas. At the time, I wasn't really doing much on YouTube, but I knew they were in my hometown. And I just thought, okay, someday I'm going to go see their graves because I think that'd be pretty cool. So that's all pre YouTube. I think your next question, we can dive more into that, but that's kind of building basis for you.
Yeah. What are some of your earliest videos about, and how has your content evolved over the years?
My earliest video, when I was going through what we were going to talk about today, I had to go back and see what they actually were. And I think the first 5 or 6 videos, I was not planning to have a YouTube channel. I was like, I'm just going to go, this stuff I want to see, I'm going to put these videos up and that's it. The very first video was Linwood Hall. It's in the Philadelphia area, and it is the largest Gilded Age mansion that's still around today. The original owner was a big investor of the Titanic. And sad enough, himself, along with his son, both died on the Titanic. So that, I've always had a fascination with the Titanic. I've done plenty of videos visiting exhibits and that. But anyway, I found out that mansion was 17 minutes from our apartment when we were living in the Philadelphia area. So I was like, I got to go out and see it. It's a horrible video. It's a classic first video on YouTube, right? I don't know why I put it in black and white. I was like, here we are in front of Linwood Hall. And they're rebuilding it now. Huge renovations going into it. Back then, it was still so abandoned. And there's people like sneaking in there. I wasn't going to do that. I was just filming from the outside. That was my first video. I also went to film Valley Forge because that was in our area. I love the Revolutionary War. When I knew we were moving to Texas, me and my buddy Mike took a trip to Ohio. And that's when I filmed the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Christmas Story house that's there. On the way back, we stopped at the Flight 93 9/11 memorial, which later, once I started making money, I had to actually take down because YouTube put a huge restriction on that one because of the pop, right?
Yeah.
And then we moved. I maybe had 6 videos up at this point, and we moved down, and I just forgot about the YouTube channel. I had no plans for it. We moved down October 2020. Fast forward to April 2021. I haven't done a YouTube video since. I would check it now and then to see how the views were doing, and it was just okay. I remember I got a comment from this lady, and I don't remember her name, but all she said was like, she commented on some video and said, any more future videos coming out? Question mark. And my first thought was, wow, people actually care. So I was like, holy cow, people actually care. Okay, maybe I should start going and filming this stuff. So that's thanks to that lady. I'm still thankful for that comment because here we are 4 years later. I may have never started again or even gone down this path if it wasn't for her saying that. It really kind of took on a life of its own. And a lot of it's, we'll talk about Bonnie and Clyde later in this podcast, but the fact that the JFK assassination happened here, like right in my back door, those two things really set me down the dark history path.
Okay. So, we went through where now started, you started decided you want to make it into a channel. What was your biggest challenges in growing your channel? And what moment made you realize that you were really connecting with your audience?
My biggest struggle was picking, not so much picking, but narrowing down my niche. Cause I mean, you're a YouTuber, everybody talks about, you need to pick a niche, right? A lot of people are too broad, that's totally fine. You can film yourself going to the grocery store when you got 700,000 subscribers, right? And people are going to watch. You'll get 50,000 views going to the grocery store. When you're growing your channel, it's a lot different. My problem was I was doing 2 niches. I was doing the travel niche because my wife and I like to travel. So it's like, okay, we're going to San Francisco. So I might as well do 10 best things to do in San Francisco. I might as well do 5 places to eat in San Francisco. And I'm like, they're going to get views. You don't even have to do anything because people are searching that, right? Then the other part of me, the stuff that I actually really cared about and wanted to see was the dark history stuff or even the historical location stuff. So for us in San Francisco, I wanted to really go to Alcatraz and tour that. We were going to restaurants so I could film the other parts of the video. I really wanted to go to Alcatraz though. I really wanted to drive an hour south and go see Wyatt Earp's grave from Tombstone.
Yeah.
That's the stuff I really wanted to do. But for the first 3 years, I was kind of double dipping in both categories. And I had 2 audiences, which doesn't really work when you're trying to start and grow your YouTube channel. You really need to focus on one. And it wasn't until maybe the second half of last year, so fall, maybe 2024, where I was like, okay, even though I have all these videos filmed, like Boston Travel Guide, we're touring Fenway Park, the baseball field in Boston, Red Sox. I'm not going to put those out because I'm going to just go full on dark history, historical locations, true crime down that path. And as soon as I started doing that, that's when I noticed the real connection with the audience. The same people are coming back video after video because it's what they like, you know? Yeah, I lost the audience that liked the walking tours or, 8 things to do in Salem. I lost that audience, but I really boosted the growth of my channel by just focusing on the dark history path.
And, I can relate to that quite a bit. I've only been started since December,
Uh-huh.
but I've tried a bunch of different things, still narrowing down my niche, but I think I'm getting there.
You need to find what works for you. For a while, I was chasing the views because I knew, okay, whatever, 5 places to eat in Salem. I know that video is going to do well, especially in the fall season. But you have to try different things and see what works. And at the end of it, you have to find out what you like to do. Like for me now, it's not worth it for me to visit 8 restaurants just because I'm going to make a video. But it is worth it for me to drive. We were just driving to Alabama, Dallas to Gulf Shores, Alabama. I did a 2-hour detour to visit the gravesite of Jerry Lee Lewis. That to me is worth it because I want to see his grave. It's going to go with my channel. So I'm going to make that 2-hour drive detour and go see that.
Speaking of Salem, it does seem like it was a significant location for your content. What kind of drew you back to Salem repeatedly? Because I know there was multiple videos.
There's an entire Salem playlist. It's one of my favorite places in the world to visit. And it's not so much because I'm a huge horror guy or I'm a huge Halloween guy. I mean, I kind of am, but I don't have a horror YouTube channel. A lot of it for me is I just love New England in the fall. I always tell my wife, whenever we retire someday, I'm going to spend every single fall, at least for a week in New England, just because I love it. I'm also from Northeast Pennsylvania. I live down here in Texas. It's the falls are not the same. So when I can go back there and go to the Sam Adams Brewery and drink an Oktoberfest in the month of October in New England, that's like the best thing for me. That whole New England area is so historic. Going back to Halloween, my mom and I always loved Halloween. It was kind of my and her dream to go there, which we did. And we kept going back and back because we love it. There's, like I said, there's the historic part of it. I love history. I love dark history. Put those together. What do you got? You got the Salem witch trials.
Yeah.
And there's so many locations, and you've seen my videos, and we'll talk about them coming up, but there's so many locations that are still there today that a lot of the tourists, they don't know about. They just go to Salem to go in the shops and the restaurants and walk on the main street, do some of the museums, but they don't know that, like, okay, these are the actual locations that are still here today from 1692. So you put all those things together. That's why I love going back to New England every year, but specifically Salem and Boston. We can get a little bit more into that in the next question.
I've never been. It's on my bucket list.
Yeah, well, you should. You're close.
Oh, I know I am.
Man, this is how I was, like I said, Northeast Pennsylvania. It is a 4 or 5 hour drive to Salem. I don't know why I never went. Like, growing up, I guess it was because, like I said, my parents never traveled. It wasn't until later, when I got into YouTube stuff, I'm like, we're going to go there. It's really not that far. Now I drive 14 hours to go make videos. It's not a big deal. But then I'm like, man, we were right there, So yeah, you should definitely.
It's on my bucket list in the next year or two to get there. I know my daughter wants to go as well. So we will get there. Last year, actually, for my birthday, we went Sleepy Hollow, which was awesome.
On my list.
Awesome. We spent the weekend there. If I would have known I was starting my YouTube channel, I would have done a lot of recording.
You would have had a field day.
But at that point, last year, I was not thinking about starting a YouTube channel.
Going back to the very beginning of this podcast, when I was in London on our honeymoon, YouTube wasn't even really a thing yet. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I could have made 100 videos there. Just the history, or the dark history, the Tower of London, the execution sites, all that. stuff, the ghost.
Oh, that's a bucket list item for me. The whole UK is really
You don't get much older and more historic than that. I mean, I guess you do if you go to Rome and see the Colosseum or Egypt, but
yeah,
you can't beat the UK too much.
it's definitely on my bucket list at some point. Bringing us back to Salem, we got on a little offshoot there, but that's fine. Beyond the witch trials, what lesser historical aspects of Salem do you find most compelling?
Not that this is historic at all, but one of the reasons I love going back to Salem is because the movie Hocus Pocus was filmed. I love that movie. I loved it since I was a kid. My wife and I watch it every single Halloween night when the kids are coming to get candy. We have Hocus Pocus on. And I just love that they filmed it there. I did a Hocus Pocus filming locations. I don't do the filming locations videos much anymore, but it's still one of my favorite videos. Even if
Yeah.
I'm not filming, when we go back, I still go to like Max and Danny's house just to see it because it's fun for me. Another great thing on the historical side, not directly in Salem, but 30 minutes away from Salem, Boston. If you love the American Revolutionary War and that story, you cannot beat Boston. Like I was telling you earlier, I didn't care about history when I was going through middle school, high school. I wish I did, but I didn't. But maybe about 12 years ago, I started getting to the American Revolution and I just dove so far down into that. That's what got me into like, okay, if I like this, now I'll start to get into the Civil War and then branch out from there. Now it's like, if I'm ever going to Salem, well, I'm also going to Boston. I'm going to walk the Freedom Trail and I'm going to go see Paul Revere's house, see Sam Adams' grave. I did that. And I already know, like, when I got back, I'm like, I get more ideas going. I'm like, oh, I could have did that, could have did that. So
Yeah.
not breaking any spoilers because I don't know when I'll get back there, but I already have in my brain, like, okay, I did Sam Adams' grave, but now I want to make a new video. I found out where his house was, the restaurant that he held his meetings at, the other meeting house, and his grave. I want to do a video basically just on Sam Adams, all these locations. I
Yeah.
made one like on Paul Revere too, you know? So,
And
and
I actually walked the Freedom Trail last July. I
well,
think I commented on your video.
if you love that stuff, it's awesome. And even if you don't and you're there, it's worth it because you could always learn something new.
I wasn't able to go into any place because I was on a work trip. So I got up at 6 in the morning,
Yeah.
Ubered to the start of the trail, and I walked the whole thing and then Ubered back and got ready for the conference I was at.
You know what's cool about that? Where you start in Boston Common, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's so many people that go through that park every day, but a lot of them don't realize what actually happened there. You know, there was like executions right in the park. There was the British soldiers were base camped in the park. You know, it's like anything, you know, you walk past Paul Revere's house or, you know, it's like, well, the dude actually lived right there, you know, or we went to Lexington and Concord. If you're going to Boston, well, I mean, I can go down this path all day, but like we drove
Yeah.
to Lexington and Concord, right? You know, and it's like open fields, but to know what actually happened there brings on a whole new life of its own.
I went to Princeton this past year and maybe some upcoming content that I'll be putting out. I went to the Battle of Princeton from the Revolutionary War, and there's like a whole field, there's old houses. It was it was really nice. But that's kind of a spoiler of some upcoming content. Once I get it put together, it'll be
Yeah.
coming out. Do you have any particularly memorable or unexplained experiences while filming in Salem?
A couple years ago, I don't know, maybe our second time there, we actually stayed, and you might have seen this if you've seen the video, but we booked an Airbnb. We booked it because everywhere it said this place was haunted. It's an old house from like the, whatever 1800s. It's been there. So we stayed there. Supposedly, like the third floor was haunted. Once upon a time, the owner of the house was in the backyard, struck by lightning, and passed right there. We found the guest, and I think the guest, it wasn't like on display, but it was under a shelf. And we pulled it out, and we were going through the guest book. And it wasn't until we read the stories from, and this is like a handful of stories from people that are saying this happened, or we heard footsteps, or we woke up at 3 in the morning and there was banging and like all these people are writing these stories. And we were like, oh my gosh, this is cool. So then my mom was like, I'm not sleeping by myself because she had her own room and I don't know what she did, but she's like, I'm not sleeping by myself, you know, where me, I'm kind of the opposite, but only because I want to catch it on camera. So I was debating, should I just go to the third floor, sleep by myself and have the camera run all night just so I could see if I got anything. I didn't do that. But that was one. The other one, I know you mentioned to me before about the Giles and Martha Corey headstones. That one was interesting. And I think I said it in the video. I'm actually putting a montage of videos together that'll be out this October since I'm not going to Salem, kind of like recreating some of the old stuff. I remember seeing a YouTube video when I was tracing the Salem witch trial steps. This one video that came out like 10 years before, maybe YouTube like 2010 or something. And this guy recorded the headstones of Giles and Martha Corey. And I was trying to figure out where that was. Nothing was on the line. Keep in mind, this is maybe like 5 years ago. So I found a park on this one website and I just got my little yellow guy on Google Streets and I plopped him down. And I'm like, I think I said this in the video. I started up this side of the park. I walked down this street, still walking around. This is how I know my bearings when I go places. I walk around virtually on Google. And I'm going down this street and the bottom left corner of my screen, I see two headstones right there. So I turn my guy and there they are. I was so happy I found that. And some people probably think that's weird or dorky, but for me, I was
Excited too.
yeah, I was like, I'm going to go make a video on that.
Your videos, I didn't even know those existed. I had never heard of it before I saw your video on it.
A lot of people don't know. And that's part of the reason why I like to do that. We'll talk about more in the next question, but
Yeah, for the viewers that are planning their first trip to Salem, what would, the must-see locations that go beyond kind of the typical tourist trail? Do you have any recommendations for that?
I sure do. And, most people who go to Salem, like I said, they go to the restaurants, they go see the lighthouse, they go to the museums, the haunted attractions. They do the ghost tours at night, which I'm not against. We did it the first year we were there. I thought it was cool. But a lot of people don't, maybe they don't care, but for people who do, they just don't know. That's why I like to do these videos.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the Salem witch trial locations that are still there today. And when you go to like Proctor's Ledge, I think it was a memorial that was made in 2017. It's at the bottom of the old Gallows Hill where they did the deed, right? The memorial is at the bottom. And most people who go think it's nice. Whenever I'm there, I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one here. There's other people that are coming to see the memorial. So like nobody knows if you just walk around the block and go to the woods, right on top of the hill, you could stand where those hangings
Actually took place.
Yeah. And every time I go there, I talk to the people out there. I'm like, I'm thinking of this. The last time I was there, there's maybe a group of like 6 people, maybe like my age that were there. And I was like, do you guys know like what happened on that hill? And they're like, no. I said, that's where the hangings happen. Oh, really? I said, yeah, walk around this block and the entrance is right back there. It says, don't come here like dawn till dusk. So like, so then lo and behold, they went back and did it. But that's why in some of my videos, I show like, okay, this is where I start. Here we are walking to get to the hanging site. There's another one, Danvers, Massachusetts, one town north of Salem. This is where you will find where the Salem witch trial story begins. There's Reverend Parris's house where his slave Tituba, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Crucible.
Yeah.
So you know how Reverend Parris rock outlining of the house. And I send the video. This is where the Salem witch stories trial all started, literally right here. And it's only 20 minutes north of Salem. But a lot of people don't know if they don't go there. Also that way is the first church in Salem, Rebecca Nurse, who was the 71-year-old that was hanged during the witch trials. Her house is there. The Nurse family cemetery is there. They have a memorial for her because nobody knows exactly where she was buried because she's buried in an unmarked grave, but it's in that cemetery somewhere. Most people go to Salem just to put the costumes on and walk around. But if you want to dive into the historical part of it, there's all this stuff and it's all free. If you want to tour the Rebecca Nurse house, maybe you'll pay $5. It's free to go to all these locations.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do in Salem that's free.
You'll go to the Salem Witch Trials Memorial next to Bearing Point Cemetery. It's free, but it's slammed because that's what people know, where to go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they always go in. A lot of people go there. Well, yes, I think we've covered Salem quite well. I know your channel features visits to specific graves for historical figures like Ben Franklin, Harvey Oswald, Bonnie and Clyde. What draws you to seek out these particular burial sites?
Well, first off, earlier in my life, I wasn't a famous graves fanatic or searcher as I am now. But it really hit me the first time we went to Graceland, Elvis Presley's Graceland in 2017. And I've always been a huge, mega Elvis fan. I always loved Elvis. Everything was Elvis, Elvis, Elvis thrown. But when I saw his gravesite, I was like, this is as close as I will ever get to Elvis Presley. He's literally 6 feet below right here. I just felt I would never have met him in my lifetime or seen him, but to know like my idol is right here in front of me, 6 feet below. That was the first time I was like, whoa, there's power here when you visit a gravesite like this. I had that same kind of feeling when I was in Philly. I'm like, oh my gosh, Benjamin Franklin is 6 feet below, like right in front of me. So that's kind of how that started. And then I moved down here, there's Bonnie and Clyde. It's like, wow, people get mad when I talk all happy, slappy stuff about Bonnie and Clyde because, the story. But my point is, when I'm standing right in front of Clyde, Beryl, and Bonnie Parker's graves, it's like, holy cat, they're right here. So that kind of started the famous graves road for me. And some of them, like, I don't care to visit, but I will if I'm doing a video on it. So I did a video on the Boston Strangler. And I went to visit his grave at the end of the video. Did I want to go see him? No, but
Yeah.
kind of brings the video itself full circle, right?
Yeah.
Lee Harvey Oswald, I really don't care to see his grave, but when I'm doing those videos, it makes the ending good when I end off like, here he is. So,
Yeah, it kind of completes the story.
yes, exactly. Here's what they did. Here's where their end is.
How do you decide which historical figures' graves are worth featuring? Is it based on viewer interest, historical significance, or your personal preferences or fascination?
Honestly,
All three.
really all I have to say about that. Some of them, the video I just uploaded yesterday, it's a story that is famous in Texas, but not famous a lot of other places. The Candy Montgomery case with Betty Gore. So I went and visited Betty Gore's gravesite. I know this video is probably not going to it's not going to do well as a Bonnie and Clyde grave where like Pretty Boy Floyd did well. Kate Spade, I visited her grave. That did really well. I did not expect that. Still, I went to visit those locations in the past. It's from my hometown where all this happened. So I want to go to Kansas and see her grave. So sometimes I do videos just because I want to. Sometimes I do them because like, okay, this one's going to get a lot of views. But to answer your question, all 3 points.
All three.
Yeah.
That makes sense. You have to balance it out in the end.
You also have to decide what is worth your time to go and see. Like I talked about earlier, when I'm driving 2 hours out of my way to see the gravesite of Jerry Lee Lewis, I'm like, yeah, this is worth my time. It's going to get views. Plus, I want to personally see where he's there. There's other things where it's like, I shouldn't have spent 10 hours driving for this video. Sometimes you don't know, but I kind of have a good idea of what my audience will like at this point and what they don't care for.
Makes sense.
There's videos where I know this is going to be a home run, and it is. There's videos where I think, okay, Oklahoma City bomber. I drove 2 states, drove like 12 hours to make that video. It didn't do as well as I thought. Sometimes you don't know.
I've had videos where, I've edited it, made it great, and then they bomb. But
Yeah.
then other times I've just thrown it together and it does better than I expected.
I said that's like Kate Spade too. My wife loves Kate Spade handbags. You know the brand, you don't know so much the person. I was like, well, I'm going to be in Kansas City, so I don't know much about her, but I'm going to stop and do a gravesite video. And she just blew up. She got like 60,000 views in a month.
You just never know. Have you ever had difficulty locating a specific grave? And what's your process in tracking down these more obscure burial locations?
Findagrave.com helps a lot. A lot of times they are in not only the cemetery, but they go even further where they drop a pin. There's a video I have coming up in maybe 2 weeks where I retrace. I don't know if you've ever heard of the BTK serial killer.
Yeah.
Okay. I retrace. It's only been done once on you. My friend Scott on tape actually did it like 4 years ago. It's hard to find YouTube videos that haven't been done. So when I can find some that's been done, it's fine. But anyway, I was there and I'm like, I'm interested in this. I want to go see. But anyway, I found one of his victims super easy. Like her grave is out in the middle of nowhere, Kansas, but findagrave.com had the pinpoint. It's a big cemetery. Driving in had the pinpoint. I just put in Google Maps, boom, and my car goes right to her grave. There's other times, the video that came out this past Saturday, Betty Gore grave, where they tell me the cemetery that she's at, but there's no pinpoint. A lot of times before we had our baby girl, my wife, Nicole, I would be filming in the cemetery and Nicole would go out and search through the graves and find him. So by the time I'm done on my side, she's like, right here. A lot of these times now, since we have an 8-month-old daughter, I go on these trips by myself. So I'm not only filming, but I'm spending sometimes 15, 20 minutes going back and forth trying to find. Findagrave.com helps. It's not always perfect, but it gets you in the right direction.
At least gives you a general idea of where it is. So kind of next question. Have you encountered any pushback from cemeteries, families, or subscribers when filming specific graves? Viewers.
Certain viewers with a lot of opinions. Any time I've visited Lee Harvey Oswald's grave or did a video on him, it's like politics. Half of it is he did it. The other half, he had nothing to do with it. And they fight to the death. And a lot of people, even though I try not to put my own personal opinions in the video, I'm just out here documenting what happened in the spots then. They just go to war with me in the middle about specifically when it comes to graves, his grave. Other than that, I've never had any pushback from cemeteries or anything, but I do know some other YouTubers who kind of do the same thing where cops have been called on them just for literally recording on a camera in a cemetery. They got the cops on. And not that they're doing, there's no law against walking around a cemetery, push and record. There's no law. You're not doing anything, but it's happened because people have nothing else better to do than call the cops, say, hey, there's some guy in the cemetery with a camera. But it happens, Me personally, I haven't had any issues. The only thing that was kind of scary, and I don't want to dive too much into this, but kind of scary for me was where Bonnie Parker is buried. Her cemetery is known for just a lot of homeless people are attracted to that cemetery for whatever reason. I don't know why. I usually try to go there in the morning. I've never had any issues. I've heard other people saying they've had run-ins and problems and stuff. Just the last time I was there, there was like 3 of those guys and 2 of them didn't bother me. The one, I don't know what he wanted, but it was just twice where he was walking directly towards me. I think I cut it on video. I'm like, I'm going to go to my car now. And then I'm recording in my car and I'm telling the story of what happened. And then I see the same guy walking towards my car. I'm like, I'm just going to leave. I think I said in the video too, I feel bad for them. I pray for them, but at the same time, I'm not going to put myself in danger just to go film that gravesite.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I've had no issues.
Do you have a bucket list of graves that you would still like to visit?
Yes, sir.
That'd be the first part of the question. I'll let you answer that first.
Los Angeles, California. That is like the mothership of famous graves. Hollywood stars, musicians, actors, whoever. Mothership of famous graves videos. That's why a lot of YouTubers, before we got on the call, we were talking about Grim Life Collecting. What did they do?
Yes.
They moved to Hollywood, California. They have that whole area to do whatever. I have not been there yet. I want to. I haven't because when I go, it's going to be a 2-week trip.
Yeah.
I have a list of over 100 videos to film, and it needs to be 2 weeks. We haven't had the time yet, and we just had a baby December of last
Yeah.
year. So it's like, let's probably push back a couple more years, but that's my bucket list.
Oh yeah, that would be, yeah, there's tons of stuff there. It's somewhere I would love to go. You know, there's a bunch of places on the West Coast that I'd like to visit.
Have you ever been to Alcatraz?
No.
Been to the West Coast at all?
No, the furthest I've traveled is Houston, like westwise. So I haven't been further than that yet.
Well, you'll make it there.
Any that you have been trying to get to, but have been kind of challenging to get to?
I would, again, say Los Angeles just because when I go there, I know it's going to be like a 2-week trip. It's just not the right time. I work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. I only have so much PTO.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
a little baby. If I ever got to the point where I could do YouTube full time, then I'd be like, okay, 2 weeks out of the year, every year, I will be in Los Angeles just to bulk up on videos. But until that point, somewhere down the road, I will.
I think everyone would like to eventually, be able to just do the YouTube, not have your Monday through Friday job. So, your Bonnie and Clyde series has been popular with viewers. What made you think about tracing their entire story geographically? I know you've covered everywhere.
Bonnie and Clyde is easy because when I moved to Dallas, all of their locations are like 30 minutes from me. I have a 3-part Bonnie and Clyde series. I filmed all that in one day. It'll take me 30 minutes to get to West Dallas, which is Clyde's neighborhood where he's buried. A lot of those locations are so close, especially Clyde. Bonnie's a little more spread out, but Clyde stuff, you can knock all those out in a morning. So when I made that 3-part series, we got down to downtown Dallas like 7:30, and I was done filming that by 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Really, just to answer your question, it's because I live here. It's easy for me. I'm fascinated with their story. I studied their story. I've read so many books, so many movies, documentaries on them, and it's easy for me. I don't need to go with scripts. A lot of it is just here because I've studied for so long.
I know that you did document a little off script. Wasn't there one location that's been torn down since you recorded it?
And I'm so glad I recorded that. That was one of my early videos. That's why I did the 3-part series, because I didn't like my original. That was when we first moved down here, the Bonnie and Clyde Dallas location. But I'm glad I did that because I got on camera. It's the Barrow filling station, Clyde's father, Henry Barrow's filling station, where the Barrow family, 9 of them lived in the back. It was torn down maybe 2 years ago. So whenever I do that, I still have that footage of when it was here and what it looked like.
That's really cool that you were able to do that.
Yeah.
And that's why with you and others documenting history, you never know if some of these old historical buildings are going to be there in 5, 10 years.
Yeah. And let me add one thing since this is directly related. The JFK assassination, Parkland Hospital, everybody knows JFK was rushed to Parkland Hospital, right? And odd enough, 2 days later, Lee Harvey Oswald rushed to the same hospital. Parkland Hospital that part of it is no longer there. I'm mad at myself because I live here. I could have went to film it so many times. It was recently torn down maybe a year ago. When I went earlier this year to film it, it's like still construction stuff is up. I'm so mad at myself. However, I'll let you know a little spoiler. I have a future video coming out. I don't know when, but supposedly the JFK Trauma Room 1, where they took him, that room almost in full has been preserved since 1963. Everything that was in there, even down to the paper towels and everything, was taken and moved to a storage facility in Fort Worth, Texas. A handful of years ago, it was moved to a government underground National Archives storage place outside of Kansas City. I have a video coming up where I go show Parkland what it looks like now, and I found at least the entrance to the underground facility outside of Kansas City. I can't go in. Like, obviously,
Yes.
highly government regulated. And there's a guy who commented about this thing. It's like, it's never to be photographed. It's never to be seen by the public eye. It's just there. So anyway, I found that entrance, but that's a future video.
That is, I'd heard about that before, but I didn't know exactly where they had taken it.
Actually, it's from commenters. I never knew that. I had people comment on my Oswald video saying that room is still intact in an underground facility outside of Kansas City. I never knew that. So when I saw those comments, I was like, huh. So then I started doing research. I was like, oh my gosh, they're right. So I had to go see it.
So kind of going back into the Bonnie and Clyde a little bit, how do you balance kind of the romanticized legend of Bonnie and Clyde with the reality of their crimes when filming?
It's a tough thing to balance because it kind of makes me mad. One of my biggest, actually, it is my biggest video. The final day of Bonnie and Clyde. I filmed this kind of like when my first full year on YouTube. It's not the best video, but for whatever reason, people like it. I went and filmed their final ride and the death spot. For whatever reason, it's ranked #1 on Google. I have no idea why, but I'm here to just document where the stuff happened. And people in the comments will say, in a nice way of putting it, you're an idiot for celebrating Bonnie and Clyde. But I'm like, I know they were bad people. I think a lot of people get caught up. I've seen comments where people, especially women are like, I love Bonnie Parker. I wish I was Bonnie Parker. I'm like, she was a bad person. I think a lot of that was driven by Clyde. She wasn't always, but she got hooked up with him. I think I said this in a video. I think Clyde was destined to go down the path he did. She wasn't, but she kind of got caught in that. Once she was in it, she kind of liked it. Because for her, she always dreamed of being an actress or a poet, but she knew in reality, I'm a poor girl in the Depression era in Texas. I'm not going to be a Hollywood star. But with Clyde, I can kind of get that. Everybody knows who I am. And they did. Everybody in the country knew who Bonnie and Clyde were. So in reality, she kind of got what she wanted, just not exactly, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's hard to balance both, but I do realize they're bad people. They killed 12, 13 police officers. Maybe they were victims of their time, but no, there's definitely that romanticized version out there. When I go on film, I just document like, this is where it happened. I don't get into like the romanticized version much.
So which location along their journey had the most preserved history or felt the most authentic to their story?
Downtown Dallas. I've been to a lot of Bonnie and Clyde locations. Like I was just talking about, we were in Gibbsland, Louisiana, where they died. I have a video. It hasn't come out yet, but I was just at the shooting location in Kansas City, outside of Kansas City. I was in Joplin, Missouri, did the Joplin Bonnie and Clyde shootout garage department. There's more videos that I have coming that aren't out yet. To answer your question, just downtown Dallas, where they grew up, and you can still go to this is the cafe where Bonnie Parker used to work. This is the high school or the school that Clyde Barrow briefly attended. This is where the Barrow filling station was. This is where their graves are. This is where Bonnie went to school. You know, this is a bank they robbed, Dallas, Texas.
Okay. So kind of moving from Bonnie and Clyde, what is your dream story that you haven't covered? I know California's a location, but a dream story you have not covered yet that you would like to.
I've been wanting to film this. I like a lot of the retracing steps stuff. Example, retracing Lee Harvey Oswald. I did that. Retracing the Oklahoma City bomber. I did that. There's a couple others that I've done. There's one that I've always wanted to do, even before YouTube. I wanted to see these locations that I'm actually going to film next year with my mom. I'm going to retrace the steps of John Wilkes Booth. Now, it has been done one time on YouTube. The Lamont Large and Mobile Instinct. I follow both of those guys. They're pretty cool. They did that video maybe 4 years ago. It's very hard to film stuff that hasn't been done already.
Yeah.
You just put your own take on it. Next year, my plan is to start at Ford's Theater, which I already toured in the past, but start there, retrace the steps through DC, Virginia, and end where he died, and just end the video at his grave site, which is actually in Baltimore. I want to retrace all the steps of John Wilkes Booth. It'll probably be a couple day video because you got to drive through the states, and that will be filmed next summer. When it will be out, I'm filming it summer 2026.
I'll look forward to that.
Yeah,
That's
that's
really interesting.
I'm excited to do that. Another one would be, like I said earlier, we will go back, and when we hit our 10-year anniversary, which is in 4 more years, we are going to go back to London and Paris and Ireland. And I think we're going to stop in Scotland. Now that I have my YouTube channel, I want to go retrace a lot of stuff in London. Go to like King Henry VIII's palace that's like still there. Even darker stuff. You know the movie Braveheart with Mel Gibson? The actual guy, William Wallace, there's a plaque in London where his execution happened. How dark that is. I want to go see that and tell the story. When we're in Scotland, there's a castle that has the actual sword of William Wallace, and tie those two together in one video. So, yep. I'm
Wow.
excited
Some
about
good stuff coming up then.
my brain is always going. I may not have all the time to go see these places yet, but every time I get an idea, I write it down somewhere because I'll forget it.
Well, you can go back and remember. Just a couple more questions. What's the most important thing you hope viewers take away from your content?
Really, just two things. One, remember the past. Maybe I could teach them something, whether it be we were talking about before about the Salem witch trials. You know, there's so many people that go through Salem and don't know. Oh, I knew it happened in the 1600s, but they don't know like the real story. If I could teach them something and just show them, you know, the real life locations of stuff that happened, kind of like the Oklahoma City bomber. This is where he rented the Ryder truck. This is where him and Terry Nichols assembled that into the truck. This is where obviously it happened. So there's that part, but also just a lot of these stories, remembering the people. So I have a video coming up in 2 weeks. It's very dark. I retrace the steps of the BTK serial killer, and I go to the homes of where it happened. And at the end of the video, I visit a grave of one of his victims, Catherine Bright. She was 20 years old, 21 years old, something like that. And the reason I say I don't want people to forget the past is because and I say this in my video, but for how good findagrave.com is, one of the things I don't like, and it happens with some people, but if you go on findagrave.com and you search Catherine Bright, all it says in the description is victim of serial killer BTK. And I'm like, that's not a summary of her life. She was a 20-year-old girl, did nothing wrong, had family, friends, a future, right? And all they have in there is victim of serial killer. And so when I go to these graves, I'm like, you know, we're still remembering you. We're still talking about you, don't want you to be forgotten, or even the victims of the Oklahoma City bombing.
Yeah.
There's all these people who lost their lives for no reason. So there's a part of my videos that I just don't want them to be forgotten either.
Is there anything that we didn't cover today that you'd like to share with the common historian audience?
The only thing I can think of is if you're debating about starting a YouTube channel, just go and do it because you don't know what it will lead to. The last 5 years have been crazy. I'm not even talking about my personal life. I'm talking about my YouTube life. My brain, I wish it would shut off sometimes, but my brain is constantly on YouTube. But there's so many places I would have never been, never even thought of going or cared to go to if it wasn't for my YouTube channel. So I'm so thankful that I have that. And I'm not even saying everybody needs to be a travel YouTuber, but if you are thinking about starting it, just start it. Don't give up because there's a real YouTube statistic out there. Like 95% of YouTubers give up before they even upload 50 videos or something like that. But it's the actual statistic,
Yeah.
So you never know what's going to happen. If you're on the fence, try it out. See if you like it. That's what I did. And then I'm so thankful that lady commented saying, "Hey, any more videos coming out?" I'm like, what?
You just never know. Where can people find your work and what should they check out first if they're new to your channel?
I am not a big social media guy. I don't care for Facebook, as we've talked about. I don't do TikTok, Snapchat. I used to have Instagram. Don't care for much anymore. Everything you can find about me is on YouTube. I do have a Facebook page. I put it in the description. I'm not active on there, but thanks to you, you messaged me on there. So I did find that. Thanks again for your message. Everything's on YouTube. And first step to check out would be the Dark History playlist. A second maybe would be the Famous Graves. But the Dark History playlist, you'll find a lot of stuff. If you want to get into more specifics, I have my Bonnie and Clyde playlist. I have JFK and Oswald playlist. I even have an Elvis Presley playlist. To your liking, I have the Salem playlist. But
Yep.
I would say start with Dark History and you can get a good idea of what I do.
Okay. Sounds great. I will be putting your YouTube link in the description here, so everyone check that out. I want to thank you so much, Nick, for sharing your incredible stories and insights into the world of dark history and historical travel. Just make sure you check out Travels with Nick on YouTube. Thank you for joining us today on The Common Historian. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a comment. We'll be back next Saturday with one more journeys into kind of the haunted history that shaped our world. Until then, keep exploring the stories that connect our past to the present.